Welcome to We Love This Book. We are very excited to have Ron Stevens with us today, the author of the Wells and Wong series, the most recent of which, First Class Murder. So, first of all, could you just tell us where we left Daisy and Hazel at the end of Arsenic for Tea?
At the end of Arsenic for Tea, it takes place at Daisy's big country house in the Easter holidays, and one of the guests at her birthday party is horribly murdered with arsenic, and the girls realise that most of the suspects are Daisy's family, and obviously the killer's unmasked, and it has repercussions for both of them, especially Daisy.
Obviously, the problem with writing murder mysteries is they're really difficult to talk about without getting into it. But if you wanted to sort of whet someone's appetite about this one, what can you tell us about the kind of the premise, the setup of it?
The setup is that Hazel's father decides that he wants to take the girls on a holiday, and so he decides to book them on the Orient Express going from Calais to Istanbul, and this is meant to be a very fancy, wonderful holiday for them to show them Europe, and they get on the train, but so do lots of other people, including Mr. and Mrs. Daunt. Mrs. Daunt has a lovely ruby necklace, and she seems to know a lot of the other passengers. They all seem to have some connection to her, or to the necklace, and events kick off. And
your mind obviously kind of goes, you know, murder mystery set on the Orient Express to the famous murder mystery set on the Orient Express. How much of were you kind of influenced by that? How inspired by that was it?
Very inspired. I mean, in the book, Daisy actually reads Murder on the Orient Express. It takes place a year after it, and she reads it, and she deduces an important clue from it that she sort of uses in the mystery in this book. So in the world of the book, everyone knows about that story, and are sort of thinking, wait, yeah, another murder. Yeah, there should have been one in the story. But it's one of my favourite Agatha Christie's, and the film, the 1974. I think it is the Albert Finney film. This is one of my favourite films ever.
So how do you come up with these scenarios that are kind of, work as mysteries but are still like loosely plausible?
I think because they're rich, they have access to more places. Sure. I think sort of luckily the class they're in, and also you know, that in this her father has the cash to put them on this train, kind of whisks them across, and Daisy's, you know, Daisy has the big family and she can go in the country house, and of course the boarding school, which I'm coming back to for book 4.
Oh really?
Yeah, book 4 they're back at boarding school. So I think, but I mean, I guess you sort of have to slightly stretch plausibility. Agatha Christie did as well. You know, everywhere Miss Marple goes is this perfect set piece place for murder, and it just happens a bit.
And speaking of the puzzle, how do you keep it all in your head? How do you work out the motives and the clues and make sure it all matches up?
I have this. Before I start each book, I make a spreadsheet. I work out all the characters and I list them, and then I sort of write down the sort of evening of the murder, the day of the murder, and I put in 5-minute or 10-minute chunks where everyone is and what they're doing, just to make sure that I know everyone's motives and everyone's alibis and sort of where they are. So also to make sure, you know, you're not having one room where 2 people are saying I was alone, and that, I mean them literally to have been alone, but they're in the same room. So it's just sort of making sure that kind of mechanical plotting. But I mean, I'm really lucky, and I've got a great editor, I've got a great agent, I've got great readers, and we do have to go through sort of 2 or 3 drafts of being like, but this clue doesn't make any sense at all, and I don't understand it. What is it doing here? Yeah. And you do have to go through and sort of pluck. I mean, normally I do a first draft and I go back and kind of seed a couple more clues and kind of feed backwards when I have a brainwave halfway through, but I really try to make it all hang together, otherwise it would be a bit of a failure.
And was it harder setting it on a train? Because obviously there's just really limited space for people to be in. It was
so difficult to do a murder that could have happened. You'll see, it seems an implausible crime, and I had to find a way of actually making it physically happen while still seeming very sort of unlikely and confusing. But I think it's an interesting challenge to kind of fit everyone into that small space, but it also gives it a nice structure, because I know that they can't go off and there have to be just that group of people.
So in this one, obviously there's the mystery, but then underneath there's obviously, and in the other books as well, there's some really like kind of subtle, kind of more serious stuff going on, and their friendship is really interesting, and also there's the kind of casual racism that Hazel and her father in this book experience. Why is it kind of important to you to make sure that there is that kind of undercurrent underneath the kind of, I was going to say fun murder, but the kind of more like, you know what I mean.
I mean, I think it's partly to keep myself interested. I like to imagine my characters and sort of really get under their skin, and I think that to do that I have to give them personal problems to solve. Also Daisy and Hazel, the first book I was thinking of it as a boarding school story, and I really went to boarding school, and at the boarding school I had a lot of really close friends, and I wanted to sort of think about and remember those really close friendships and the good things and the sort of more problematic things that were in there. So I think that was always built into the setup for the books, was this very intense, sometimes difficult friendship between two kids, and one of whom is Hong Kong Chinese. And then I knew, because again I had Hong Kong Chinese friends, that they faced sort of, I mean, not quite the same thing Hazel does, but kind of faced daily people kind of looking at them and saying, well, you don't belong here, who are you, you're not a proper schoolgirl. And because I saw that affecting them, I wanted to think of that for Hazel.
You mentioned that we're going back to Deep Dean. Can you tell us anything about book 4?
I can. It is set pretty much exactly a year after Murder Mouse and Ladylike.
Okay.
It's the autumn term again, and it starts around bonfire night, so sort of November. And a lot of things have changed, obviously. A lot of new teachers have come in, because a lot of the other teachers were caught up in the events of the first book. And also there's a new group of kind of big girls, sort of prefects and head girl, and they have quite a difficult relationship. They're quite unpleasant people. And then at the fireworks night, the new head girl is bashed on the head with a hockey stick. And tensions run high, and there's a lot of stuff about sort of Daisy and Hazel's friendship is tested again for various different ways, but yeah, hockey stick murder at school. And
finally, what are you reading at the moment?
This is always a question when my mind goes blank. I just read The One and Only Ivan, which Catherine Applegate, middle grade book about a gorilla who is stuck in this sort of mall in America and forced to sort of do circus in a mall. And it's good, really sad, wonderful. And then what I'm reading at the moment is Why We Broke Up by Daniel Handler, who is Lemony Snicket, but writing for sort of YA. So both good.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for chatting to us. And First Class Murder is out now.